Okay, so we're going to experiment with adding a gradient fill into the background. So there's a couple of different ways of doing this and a few different things we might have to bear in mind. So to start with, I'm going to unlock, the background layer. So I'm going to click on the lock symbol down here so that we can do additional stuff to the background layer we couldn't do before. I'm going to add a new layer, new, and I'm just going to move that behind the background layer. Click on the background layer now, and then select remove background. Okay, so exact same thing as with a figure, we can see that Photoshop has removed the background. The problem with Photoshop and using this function sometimes is, if I zoom in, we can also see it's removed bits of the Walkman itself. So it's removed bits around here, around the top of the Walkman where it's very light, where the light's catching it as it's been photographed. It's missed off bits on the top of the headphones, bits of the cabling, and bits of the wire. So the remove background tool is good, but it will sometimes remove more of the image than you want it to and leave some bits behind. So it's missed this bit of the background in between the Walkman and the headphones. So the only way to correct that is to do it manually. So again, I'm just going to hold down shift and turn off that layer. You'd have to then draw around and infill with white the bits you wanted to bring back using the polygon lasso tool. So for instance, if I wanted to bring through this bit here, I'd have to clip it carefully around the edge of this. Again, making sure I've got the feather on 1 pixel. Join up the area and then fill on the layer mask with white. You can see that bit of the image has come through now. When you're doing it, again, you've got to zoom in really close. I didn't zoom in close enough when I was doing that, so it might not be as accurate as I wanted it to be. You'd also want to think about which area you want to bring through, press shift, turn off the layer mask so that you can see the area you want to bring back through, and then start again. I'm going to zoom in even closer. So the more you zoom in, the more accurate it's going to be. And when I'm clipping, I'm cutting just inside the line of a headphone so I don't end up with a white outline around it. And zoom in, zoom out, control plus, control minus, until you're happy you've brought through all those bits. So obviously we'd have to bring through all these bits of cable in here, all these bits of cabling in the background, the top of the Walkman around here where it's super light, where it's clipped any bits out. So it could be quite a time consuming process. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to turn off this layer and we're just going to use a simpler image. So we're going to try using this phone image instead. So I'm going to press Control A, Control C, Control V, V, paste it onto my picture, and then Control T to resize, dragging from the corner. Think carefully about my positioning, press enter when I'm done, and have a think about how I think that looks. So there's a couple of things with this. One, we've got to remove the background. So we'll do that first. Remove background. And we'll see what Photoshop does. Okay, it's done a pretty good job of it. We can see though, if we zoom in, it's taken away some bits of the screen as well. So we need to bring those bits back. Rest of the outline looks pretty good. So it's just these bits at the top. So to do that again, zoom in. I don't have to be quite as precise this time because it's something on the inside of it. So it's already got the outside, so I'm just going to select these bits here. Do this quite roughly. Drawing back at the top corner. What I'm interested in is this area and this area over the right hand side where you can see it's clipped out of a bit of a phone screen. So I'm just going to again fill with white on the layer mask to bring through that bit of the image. Okay, good. So we're good to go then. Oh, it's missed a bit down here that I didn't see. So I'm just going to do that as well. Select that area. It doesn't matter if I over select it as long as it's on the inside of a phone shape. Make sure I'm on the layer mask. Fill with white. Select, deselect. So then we're going to try and experiment with adding a gradient fill. So we've got background. We're going to add a new layer, new layer, and I want this behind the phone layer. So I've got the phone layer, and then a background behind that. So for the gradient fill, we're going to click on the paint bucket tool. It'll either show the gradient tool or the paint bucket. So that gradient tool, I'm going to use this option and draw a line down from the top to create a gradient. Move this line up a little bit. So what I've got is a bright area through the middle. And then dark at the top and bottom. Take something like that. I'm going to, actually I'm going to add a new layer and just repeat again. So I'm going to add a new layer above, turn off that one for a second, redo my gradient fill. So when I'm doing a gradient fill, I want this bar at the bottom to be down here. I'm going to move the center bar so this bit a bit lower as well. I can change your angle by hovering on this part. This white bit defines where the center point is. So I could bring that lower if I wanted to, or higher. I think we'll go bring this down a little bit. I'm going to move that line up in a minute so we can just talk about it. So I'm going to bring that down a little bit lower, center line a little bit lower, so it's more at the horizon point of the picture. Now if I want to make the image generally the background darker, I can move this part up so it's more dark, less light. For this image, I think we want it quite light. So I want this part lower down so it goes from light to pretty light really. We don't want too dark a gradient on it. So something like that looks pretty good. Again, don't forget, obviously you can change the angle of this by rotating it. If you want it at a slightly different angle, make it darker by bringing that bit in. I think somewhere like this, horizon line a little bit low works pretty well for this image. So if I zoom out, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we might want to add a shadow to the phone now. So when we clipped out the background, we've lost the phone. So to do that, I'm going to zoom in, Control plus, and we're going to do a similar thing to what we did before. With a shadow from a figure, the figure's quite a complex shape, so it makes kind of sense to select the figure. With a phone, it's a much simpler shape, so we could just draw a box or a simpler shape that kind of looks like it fits a phone. So in this case, I'm going to draw a line sort of along the bottom here, and then come out sort of diagonally at the same angle as the angle for the phone, and join it up. I'm going to create a layer, new. Okay, and then I'm going to fill that area with black. Edit, fill with black, just like we did before. Okay, again, I'm going to select, deselect, and then I'm going to duplicate it. So I've got a copy of that layer in case I make a mistake. I'm going to click on the one above it, so turn one off, leave one on. I'm going to duplicate the layer again. So I've got two copies now. Turn that one off. And this one, I'm going to filter blur like we did before. Blur, add some Gaussian blur, and do one not very blurred. It's quite sharp. Turn that one off. Turn on the other one. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur again. More blurred. So the shadow gets softer as we move away from the source. And I want it to look similar to the shadow I've put on for the figure. Okay. Again, we're going to mask out some of it. So we're going to add a layer mask. Turn the other layer, add a layer mask to that as well. And I'm going to mask out bits of the image at a time. So on the more blurred one, we're going to mask out the bit closest to the phone. So black paint, paintbrush tool, soft brush, mask out the bit near the phone. On the sharper one, we're going to mask out the bit furthest away from the phone. So our shadow goes from sharp to more blurred as we move it away. Again, we can drop the opacity on them so they're not too dark. To a level that kind of feels about right. And just like before, we might add another new layer. Layer, new, and layer. And then we can zoom in again. And we could just draw a darker line near the edge of near the bottom of the phone. So again, the shadow looks more convincing. So paintbrush tool, black paint, soft paintbrush, reduce the size of a paintbrush using the bracket keys, and I'm just going to draw a bit of a dark line really close to the edge of the phone. I can move this or manipulate it if I want to. So I can make it a bit narrower, a bit smaller, bring it down to the top a little bit. until it looks sort of more convincing. Okay, then press return. So then my shadow for that bit on the phone should be made up out of 3 layers. One really close to the underside of the phone, which is quite solid black. One really far away, which is more blurred. One close to the phone, which is less blurred and a little bit darker. It could do with a bit of shadow coming off the back, so then I could just repeat that process again for a little bit of shadow coming off the stand. Or I could maybe duplicate these layers that I've got here. And then just change the size of them, move them to the back. And there you go. So we've got a gradient fill and we've got a mini person stood next to a large phone.